I've got 5 reasons why you shouldn't buy a new drone in 2023. Stick around, I'll tell you what they are. It seems like every year the manufacturers come out with new models. And for today's purposes, we'll talk about DJI only. Every year we get a new model or an update of an existing model, and all the marketing hype telling us we need to buy this. We won't be competitive unless we buy this new drone. But do we really need to? I want to give you 5 reasons why you may not want to consider a new drone in 2023. The first one is you already own a drone. Now, even if it's a couple years old, it still may be good for what you're trying to do. And I want to look at several different models. First one being the Mini 2. Then I want to look at the Air 2, the Air 2S, and the Mavic 2 series. And we'll talk about each of those for a minute. The Mini 2 was brought up by DJI in November of 2020, so we're well over 2 years old on that model. What did it have? Well, let's take a look. Okay, first of all, it had a 1 over 2.3 inch CMOS sensor. That's small, but it's not horrible. A 12 megapixel rating, still not bad. 24 millimeter lens with a fixed f2.8 aperture. What could it shoot? It could shoot a maximum of 4K 30 and raw stills. All that's still very good. What didn't it have? Well, it didn't have obstacle sensors. That may or may not be a big deal, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Transmission range, all of these could be about the same. Flight time, they're all going to be about the same, so I won't talk about those now. Next, we've got the Air 2, and that was brought out in April of 2020, so that's almost 2.5 years old. Let's take a look at the specs on that. It had a 1/2 inch sensor, which was larger than the one in the Mini 2. 12 megapixel rating, 4K, 24 frames per second, 25 frames per second, 30, 48, 50, and 60. So quite a wide range there. 2.7K could shoot up to 60 frames per second. So you get my point that it had a lot of functionality to it. Did it have sensors? No, it did not have optical sensors either. How about the Air 2S? Well, let's see. It was issued in April of 2021. So it's one of the newer models. In fact, you can still buy a new one these days. But it's still kind of the last iteration, right? So what does it have? Now, it's got a 1-inch sensor, so that's considerably better than what we've seen before. Higher quality video and photographs on there. Can shoot up to 5.4K video. Long transmission range. Obstacle sensing in 4 directions. So you get front, back, top, and down, but no side. Then we come to the Mavic 2. Now, this one surprised me. I didn't realize it had been so long ago. But this came out in April of 2018. So my gosh, we're well over 4 years old on that model and due for an upgrade. Funny thing is, we sold ours recently to upgrade to a Mavic 3, which I like a lot. But in terms of the flying experience, I actually preferred flying the Mavic 2 Pro that we had. It's got a 1-inch sensor with a 20 megapixel rating on it. And of course, it's got obstacle avoidance sensors in all directions. Top, bottom, front, back, as well as sides. Video resolution, 4K up to 30 frames a second, 2.7K up to 60 frames a second. So what's my point? Well, all of these drones have a minimum of 4K shot at 30 frames per second. They can all shoot in RAW format for your stills. Good stability on them, long flight time. If you looked at these as new drones today, you'd say, these are pretty cool, I might need to go buy one. So why do we need to buy the next iteration above that? So that's reason number 1. You shouldn't buy a new drone if you've already got a good one. What's the second reason? Well, the second reason is you haven't learned to fly the one you have. Doesn't matter how much money you spend on a new drone, if you can't fly it well and precisely and do these good shots you need to get, it's a waste of money to buy a new one. So what do you need to do? Get out there and practice, practice, practice. Practice your squares, your yaws, your circles, your figure eights. Figure eights with change in altitude. Anything that'll help you on a shoot somewhere to tell a good story and to produce good quality video. Now, it's free to do that. Charge your batteries, Go out to a local spot where you find you can fly and practice these things over and over again. Don't even consider buying a new drone till you've exhausted all the possibilities on the one you've got. And third, kind of along the same lines, you don't understand autonomous flight. A lot of good functions available to you in these older drones, point of interest, waypoints, just to name a few. Learn to use those in conjunction with your good piloting skills. Having these skills will give you good professional results. Number 4, and really probably the biggest, I probably should have put that number 1, is you continue to shoot in automatic mode. That's a really bad thing to do. Granted, you get nice, average pictures and videos, but nice is not what you want. You want things that are going to pop and stand out from your competition. Learn to shoot in manual mode. Learn how your camera works. Learn how to set your gimbal. Have you watched some of YouTube videos where that gimbal is just up and down and this way and that way and the pans are very abrupt? That's not what you want. You want nice smooth transitions side to side or up and down. And you can adjust all that in your app to get the kind of shots you want. So work on that. So you can take a course, watch YouTube videos, read, lots of different ways to get information on how to shoot in manual. And finally, you don't edit. If you just take the raw footage out of your drone, put that up on YouTube or give it to a client, that's a bad deal. You need to know how to edit these to come up with really, really good photos and video storytelling. And you say, okay, but I don't want to edit. What can I do? I've mentioned this before, but there's a great site called Fiverr, and I'll put the link up here. You can go and get people there who will do this kind of editing work for you at a fairly reasonable cost. So if you don't want to edit, farm that work out and make your work look professional. So what if you had $1,000 to spend right now? I'm saying don't spend that money upgrading your drone. Do things like take training, maybe buy ND filters for your drones, any number of things to improve what you're already doing. So the bottom line is, get the most out of what you have before spending money on new equipment. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video and got something from it. If you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe down below. And if you feel like it, please share it with your friends. That would be greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you so much for watching.